Hey everybody, my name's Nate and I'm here with Leo, Josue, and Ben. And this is our senior project, which is a podcast about drought. So we're gonna start with an introduction to drought and what it is, as I'm sure you all know what it is since you guys live in Sacramento, California.
So as you guys see here, our summer water supply in 2019 looks pretty good. We got a lot of water there. And just 2 years later, summer water supply in 2021, it's looking really dry. I mean, it barely looks like a little spring. So this is kind of an example that helps you understand like the extremity of the drought we're in. I mean, only in the last 2 years, even though it's been going on for a long time, but that's a big difference just for 2 years.
Right. It seems like California gets in a worse and worse drought every year. Right. Every year
Yeah,
we get a new headline that says, "Oh, California experiences new high." Literally every year it seems like it's a new high. Right. And in 2021 we had the highest drought record in 126 years uh, of having that record. Right. And it seems that our water supply has been bombarded and hurt for a lot of reasons actually. Maybe because of weather change, whether it be the ongoing fires that we have, right?
yeah,
And all that stuff that adds up to the drought problems in California, right?
yeah. I remember seeing something in 2014 while I was at my grandparents' house, like California records lowest water drought ever. And I kept remembering that. I kept seeing that every year. And I think it's just been getting worse and worse. And I don't know if we're even doing anything to fix it.
Yeah, I have those memories too of growing up. There were always signs about the drought on billboards and just in lots of places in public. So we're going to talk about different ways that our individuals and our local and state governments, like what they can do to help deal with the problem.
All right. Drought problems in California. Who had this picture? You want to talk about it? Okay, I guess I'll go. So as you could see here, this is California, about around May 17th, 2022. And this is the intensity of the drought we're experiencing right now. And I know the drought might not be the biggest thing on our minds in California with COVID and all that. But as you can see, there's a whole bunch of extreme drought throughout the Sacramento Valley and basically throughout the entire Valley of California. And even as you go onwards, it goes from severe to moderate drought. So even though you might not be in the extreme zone, you're still experiencing it in some way.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about why these things happen, why these extreme drought is happening, right? It's probably because of the extreme heat waves that we face all the time, right? And we see how our rainy season seems to be shorter and shorter every year, right? While our dry season seems to be increasing every year,
Yeah.
right? And we can see why these things happen, right? It seems that it's a lot of these things are because of climate change. We see
Mhm.
a lot of scientists telling us that it's it's here, right? Climate change is literally real, and in that the California drought is really extreme. It's not something to be taken light, right? And then in this summer, last year summer, 2021, many people can compare it to the Dust Bowl, right? See how bad the Dust Bowl is, and see how bad, how major California is, to the U.S.'s economy in general, right? So it's not just like the people who get affected. It's not just Californians, but the whole world, right? How many agriculture problems we're facing? How much farmers have to cut their agriculture.
Yeah.
So all the food that we get here, all the stuff, the produce we produce, right? It's not just being affected. We're not the only ones being affected, right? The whole world, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that like the drought isn't just affecting us as humans, it's affecting every animal on every level,
Yeah,
which in turn does affect like our produce and stuff. But I mean, droughts hurt all the animals too. So that's important to note.
that's true.
Okay.
All right. How has drought affected our lives personally and the lives of everybody in Sacramento? I'll start. I added this graph to our slides presentation as I was doing my research because I noticed back in the 60s and the 70s, Sacramento water levels were near above normal or below normal or wet, which means like, we are getting good amounts of water. But as you see, you start getting into the dry and critical areas starting at 1976. And then you have this big period from 87 to 94 where all of the levels are critical. So, and this right here, 87 and 94 was during the drought period. So we can see that replicates later and later in time. And now we're facing it almost every year, or almost 5 out of the 6 years in our past. So I don't know. I just feel like we've been in it for so long and we've been trying so hard to push it back. It just seems like nothing's working. What do you guys think?
I think we should definitely take a look back at what helped us to get out of that massive drought from the 90s. Some of the things that they did.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a good idea. Many of these things, history repeats itself. It's like pretty obvious. Maybe we can look back. Maybe we can, of course, a bunch of Californians are trying to, trying to cut back, and it shows how much it really affects us, right? If we want to talk about how it affects individuals, how it affected me personally, right? We were talking about earlier, when you kids, you're playing with water responsibly and all that, but how many, back then, maybe it wasn't too much of a big deal, but how much is a big deal is now, right? If a kid wants to, even just like letting the sink run for a while when you're brushing your teeth, it seems like a big deal now, right? What happens to like, it's like the quality of life isn't just seen by numbers, right? Yeah, I can show, right? We have a bunch of water, it's happy and all that, right? But I also have to show how happy the people are, right? How cost of water, how expensive will water be if in the future it's a scarcity. It's like not a commodity anymore. It's a luxury, right? So you have to see even now, like you can even get fined for having running water. You can call on your neighbors. They can get fined for running water, right? So how like it's affecting not just us personally, like it's affecting us personally. It can affect relationships, and it can also affect pockets, right? It can affect someone's income, someone's like way of living, right?
That's a good point.
All right. What steps have the people in the government of California and Sacramento taken to limit the effects of drought in Sacramento and California in general?
So here we have, I put this up here. This is an example of the city doing something to try and preserve the water that we have. So they have these rules for watering that you can only water at a certain time and all that. And that this is helping, making sure like people aren't over watering like their lawns basically. Because that really irrigation takes up the most water in like residential areas. It's really not as much as like a sink or a toilet. It's mostly like watering your lawn just takes up so much water.
Yeah. I feel like we've been doing this forever, but I don't know about you guys. I don't think it's been as effective as we previously thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do before you'd say like you're not allowed to have a lawn. Like I know the governor just signed a bill recently saying that like basically like office buildings, industrial parks, all that like grass that isn't used, like you can't water it anymore.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those issues too. I think it's easy to look at like really huge issues like this and feel kind of helpless, but this is one where like individual people can make like a big impact. Like I don't know, like my family recently we removed all the grass from our front lawn and replaced it with rocks, and I think the local government actually gave us like a small amount of money for it. So they are encouraging you to remove. They are encouraging you to remove grass from your lawn, and we did that, and we felt, we don't have to mow it anymore.
Yeah,
it's not as hard to keep it up, and you're not wasting as much water. So I feel like
water either.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good option for a lot of people.
All right,
that's pretty smart. Oh my God, I don't know if you want to keep going back.
I think I'm gonna move on.
All right, that sounds good.
Anything more we could do to reverse drought's effects on Sacramento and on California? So I'll start. I added this picture. I don't know if you guys like it. I think just, hoping for the best when it comes to rain in Sacramento and in California in general, because we don't get a lot here. I don't know about you
Yeah,
guys. We
that's
just
true.
don't. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
that among other conservation things, I think is the best way we can try to limit drought's effects.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And this is a picture on an agricultural area. Like sometimes we forget like that water is needed to like produce the food that we eat.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of taken for granted. And you can't really make it like that's like always going to be there. Like you
Yeah.
can't say, oh, you can't water your crops because then no one has
yeah,
food.
you can need to eat or something. Yeah.
All right. Is there
I think.
anything
Yeah,
anybody
I
else
want to
wants to say
continue.
before we want to close up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can continue. Oh, Ben wants to go first.
Go ahead, Osle.
Okay. Well, I think what we can do as like a whole is just like, it's kind of quite literally a drop in the bucket. If someone says, oh, my part isn't doing too much, right? But how many like millions of people live in California, right? How many millions of people can do a change actually?
Yeah.
Something little, it can pile up. It can pile up um, to like how much thousands of gallons or how much so much water we have saved up because people are cutting costs. Like not watering their plants or just like people switching from meats to just like vegetarian options. You know, I think that's a really good way to start pushing stuff, right? And then we can only do so much, right, for ourselves. But then I also think it's gonna be up to um, the environment, the heat waves, and all that. See how far they can cut back, and see how far our government can
Hmm.
take us. And then we can just hope for the best. Maybe our rainy season starts to get bigger, starts to get expand wider, and our dry season and our fires start to decrease.
Yeah.
I think that we start be a good sign that we're gonna come out of this.
All right.
Yeah. I think another thing that we can talk about is like, well, really, because climate change, the drought, it's probably just going to keep going like this. So, what are some things that we can do to like adapt? So we can try different because we traditionally rely on aquifers underground
Hmm.
and surface water for our water, and the traditional ways like really just aren't going to work in the future. So,
Yeah.
what are some things we can do? We can
I think.
try stormwater harvesting, which is basically just like in an urban area, instead of like having the water just like run off into the river and right into the ocean. You can do
Yeah.
different things to try and help it go down into the ground and become part of an aquifer. We can just reuse our water, like in the treatment plants. There's different things we can do to do that. um like a big thing that's been put in is like irrigation controllers and water meters that everyone has in the city pretty much. And one more thing for coastal communities would be seawater desalination, which does have some downsides. It's very energy intensive, but it also would definitely provide a lot of water for the coastal communities that need it, especially
Yeah.
in Southern California.
All right. I think that's all we got time for. So I'm gonna move on. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our podcast. I hope maybe you learned something, or you found out something new, or just thanks for listening, because we took time to prepare this. All
And
right.
also, that just because we're in a problem right now, just California's in a drought.
Yeah.
Just we have all these problems. Like there's also solutions, and there's also hopeful things that can come out of this.
Yeah.
How much closer can California get for uniting against this problem?
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.